remember, I guess, where were you living in January of 2014?
23060 Doremus.
Are you still living there?
No.
At the time when you were living there, who were you living there with?
My wife, Julie.
Okay. And you have 2 children?
2 stepkids there.
2 stepkids, and what are their ages?
Now they're 11 and 13.
And at the time they were?
10 and 11.
Okay.
10 and 12.
I'm going to show you, again, I've indicated, Your Honor, that I've shown Mr. Haddad People's Exhibit number 69, and there will be no objection to it.
You offering that at this point?
At this time I am, Your Honor. Yes, sir.
By stipulation.
At this time, would you step down, Charles? Wanted to have the court, if you show the jury, if you would grab the pointer here. I just want to go over this overall area so that they have a familiarity with it. Would you show where Doremus Street is and where your address is on Doremus Street?
That's Doremus, and this would be my house.
I keep your voice up even though you're looking at that because they've got to hear down here. Would you show where Jefferson Avenue is on that?
Jefferson's right here.
Would you show where the 7-Eleven is in this area photograph?
It'll be this building here.
So the 7-Eleven is on the corner of Jefferson and Doremus?
Correct.
Would you show where the Kroger supermarket is?
That would be this building.
And would you show us where the CVS is?
Be right here.
Okay, and is there an outbuilding in the corner there on the far right?
That's the bank.
That's a bank. Now, we've heard testimony about the Jefferson Village condos. Would you point out where those are?
It's this general area here.
Okay. Just so that we don't have to have you step up again, what is the distance, I guess, between your house on Doremus and, say, the 7-Eleven?
Probably right around 100 yards.
100 yards or so? And then from Doremus to Martyr, what would that distance be?
Probably right around 100 yards as well.
And there's not been a whole lot of distance between there and this area in Jefferson Village right here?
No, maybe 50 yards.
And so this is pretty much just a pretty tight little area right in this area here?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that yes?
Yes.
Okay. For, I'll say it before the judge does when we're answering questions, it has to be yes and no. Okay, thank you. All right, you can have a seat. I'm going to take your attention back to what would be January 29th of 2014. Do you remember what the weather conditions were?
It was cold, and there was snow on the ground.
As a cement mason, I guess my initial thought is always that's probably like seasonal. Are you? Is it seasonal? Were you working indoors at that time, or?
I do believe I had a couple indoor jobs going on at that time, but it is pretty seasonal.
On that day itself, the 29th, do you recall approximately what time you may have left the house? It was the first time.
It was about noon.
Noon?
Yeah.
And when did you return from the house?
About 4:10.
If you would, I mean, we see, Craig, are you able to zero in on this just a little bit for me? Just take that for me. All right. No, come back. Right there. Okay, that makes a difference. If you would come down for just a second. I would like, the purpose of this is to sort of show the jury your driveway, your front lawn, where the street is. If you would, it looks like our basic type housing in St. Clair Shores.
Right, yeah. This is the street right here. This would be my driveway right there, the front lawn here.
What's the distance, I guess, between where the edge of your house is here and, say, the end of your driveway?
Probably 25 to 30 feet at the most.
Is the driveway a double wide?
No, just single.
Single driveway? Single car garage?
Yep.
Yes?
Yes.
Thank you. And we know it was a snowy winter. Had the snow been plowed by you prior to leaving at that time?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Have a seat. What type of vehicle do you drive?
A Ford Excursion. I also have a Chevy Malibu.
All right. Did you notice, I guess, anything, do you know, I guess, let me ask this, when was the last time you plowed the snow or shoveled the snow?
I believe it was the prior day.
So that would have been on Tuesday, the 28th.
Right.
Do you plow, when you snow plow, let me ask, do you do it manually with a shovel, or do you have a snow blower?
With a shovel.
Do you go all the way down the little driveway section and into the street itself?
Yes.
When you were doing that on that Tuesday, did you see anything unusual in the street in front of your house?
No.
When you left the house for the first time at noon on the 29th, did you notice anything unusual in front of your house when you left?
No.
You indicated you returned approximately 4:10 in the afternoon?
Correct.
Would you describe to the jury what direction you came in and what it was that you found?
I came in off of Jefferson and pulled up alongside the house and noticed something in the street in the approach of the driveway.
If I ask you again to come on down, since we have this blow up, take the pointer and show us the direction.
I came this way?
Okay? And that would be west?
Yes, west, off of Jefferson. And I pulled up across the approach as I was dropping the kids off after school before I went to the store.
You then indicated, would you tell the jury what you noticed?
I noticed something in the street and got closer to it. It looked like a phone or an iPod or something.
Had it been there when you left?
No, it was not.
What color is it?
Black.
Would you, I guess, have noticed it when you left?
Location it was in, I would have, because I would have probably ran it over if I had not.
After you see it, what do you do?
I asked one of the kids as they got out to retrieve it and hand it to me. I actually yelled at them until it was one of their iPods, they were going to be in trouble.
And I assume when you say the term 410, it's because it's like an after-school time, is that?
Yeah, they go to an after-school program for
Okay.
an hour to do their homework.
All right. I'm going to hand you what is People's Proposed Exhibit number 70 and ask you to take a look at that. You recognize what's in there?
Yes.
And what is that?
It would be the phone that I picked up.
At this time, Your Honor, I would move for the introduction of People's Exhibit number 70. Mr. Haddad?
No objection.
It'll be received. Now, just so the record is clear, so that the jury can see, this phone is all black,
Except for the rim around the side, yes. Top's black.
and the cement there in front of your house is the same color cement is, sort of a whitish cream color,
Yeah,
and snow is white.
correct.
This was obvious to you as you were pulling up.
Very much so.
When you had the children handed to you, I'm going to assume you asked them if it was their item and you received a negative response.
Yeah.
All right. Did the kid? Where did you go
Yes.
after that? I guess.
To Kroger's at 9 Mac Drive.
So actually, the other Kroger, different
Correct.
Krogers.
Yep. Yes.
Do you take the phone with you?
Yes, I did.
When you initially picked up this phone, was it snow encrusted?
No.
Was there ice on it?
No.
Did it appear to have been run over by any vehicle?
No.
How far into the street off the driveway, I guess, was it?
It was actually in the gutter, so it was right where the approach and the street would meet.
And looking at where you're born and raised in St. Clair Shores, our basic St. Clair Shores thing, we're talking, yes,
Yes.
50-foot wide lots, most of those,
Yes.
and a relatively busy street,
It is pretty busy, yes.
and the phone was intact just as it is, as I see it here.
Yes.
When is it that you attempt to, I guess, what do you attempt to do with the phone once you have a minute?
I believe before I actually even left the house, I had tried to power it up, as I was driving down the street and it powered up.
No problems powering up?
No power's powering up.
Had enough battery power?
Yep, yes it did.
What do you do after you power it up?
Once I got to the Kroger parking lot, I just looked at the last couple calls that were made, and I actually called the two numbers back. They had called multiple times.
Were you able to speak to anyone after you powered the phone up?
I actually left both those people voicemails, and then as I was walking through Kroger's, one of them returned the call.
What did you say, I guess, when you left the voicemail?
That I had found a phone, and I noticed that they had called it multiple times, and I was trying to return it to its owner.
What did you do then after you spoke to the individual that returned your call?
He just kind of told me, where he was asking me where I'd found it, and more information about that. And then he said that it was, I believe, his cousin's phone, and he was missing, and that there was a detective on the case. Would it be all right if she called me?
And you responded?
With a yes. That's no problem. I gave him my personal cell phone number for her to call.
Approximately how long after this conversation did you receive a phone call from the police?
I would say within probably 15 minutes, the most.
Do you remember who you spoke to?
Yes. Detective Edit.
Detective Ike?
Ike.
And did you pretty much, I guess, tell Detective Ike what you indicated here?
Yes.
Did you turn the phone over to the police?
Yes.
And how did you do that?
They came to my house and retrieved it.
So between the time of noon when you left and 4:10 when you returned, you had not been at the house at all?
No, I had not.
Thank you, Mr. Tyner. I have no further questions.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Tyner, when you left the house at noon, who was home?
I believe my wife was home.
Okay. And you're fairly certain that at noon when you left, you didn't see the phone?
Correct, yes.
And after 4 o'clock when you came back, you saw it?
Yes.
Now, typically, when you take your vehicle, do you park in the driveway or do you have a garage?
Park in the driveway.
Okay. And I know some people pull in nose first. That's probably the most common way. Some people back their vehicles in the driveway. What's your preferred method?
Probably 50-50. Typically, I would mostly pull in.
All right. So on this particular day at 12 noon, when you left your house, when you left, was the car in the your vehicle in the driveway?
Yes.
And was the front of the vehicle facing the garage or was it facing the street?
I'm not certain. I would say it was probably facing the garage.
Okay, so you kind of think you were backing out of the driveway.
Yes.
And backing out of the driveway, you wouldn't necessarily have a good face-on view of the approach.
No, I wouldn't, but my Excursion does have a backup camera on it.
Okay, and is the backup camera that high a resolution that you could spot a little black phone in the
Probably not, no.
in the approach? So you backed out.
Yep, yes.
You're focusing on traffic. Is there kids running? Is there other traffic coming? So your attention is focused on safely backing up.
Yes.
You're not necessarily looking down to see what's in the pavement.
Right.
Now, where I live, this time of year, if there's no snow in the approach, there's a lot of salty water. Is that the case at your house?
Sometimes, yes.
Okay. What about on this particular day? Was there a puddle of water that pooled in the area of your approach where it meets the road?
No.
Okay.
Council, approach the bench, please.
Mr. Tyner, picking up where we left off, was the approach snow-covered?
No.
Was it dry?
Yes.
Okay. So you first noticed the phone when returning to your home after 4 o'clock. Okay.
Yes.
And it's laying right in the middle of the driveway portion of the approach?
It wasn't in the middle. It was off to the west side.
All right. When one of your children picked it up for you
Yes.
and handed it to you,
Yes.
did it have any marks on it like it had been tossed onto the pavement?
Not that I noticed.
Was the screen intact?
Yes.
Were there any scratches either on the screen or on any of the edges from being in contact with the concrete?
Not that I noticed.
Okay. And you indicate it was fully functional?
Yes.
All right. Did you mention this to your wife? Because she was home.
Right.
Did she
Sure I
indicate whether or not she had seen the phone placed there or tossed there or however it got there?
No.
Okay. She didn't know anything about it?
She did not.
All right. Any neighbors mention anything about seeing someone drop a phone?
No.
All right. Thank you. No further questions.
Mr. Catello.
No question, John.
Sir, you may step down. Call your next witness, please, Mr. Catello.
That could be Barbara Trombley.
Step right up your hand, please. Raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Give your name to the reporter, please,
Okay.
and spell your last name.
Okay, Barbara, last name Trombley, Trombley.
May I call you Barbara?
Yes.
Barbara, I'm going to ask the best you can to keep your voice up as loud as possible so that everybody can
Okay.
hear you back here. We don't have any microphones that amplify.
Okay.
Thank you. Did you know a gentleman by the name of Ramsay Scrivo?
Yes, he was my neighbor.
What, I guess, where did you live? What was, without saying the address, what street and what city?
Gary Lane. Ramsey, there was one condo in between the two of us.
I'm going to put People's Exhibit number 1 up if we can. I'm going to ask you to step down. I would ask you to step back for just a second so that you can take a look at it.
Okay.
Prior testimony is Ramsey's condo is right there. Would you point then to where your condo is? You got to keep your voice up.
This would be it right here.
How many units down from Ramsey are you?
One.
1 unit down. So are you a next door wall-to-wall neighbor?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, thank you. When did you move into your condo?
2008.
Was Ramsey there before you, or did he come after you?
He was already there.
Do you ever, did you ever have any social interaction with Ramsey?
Just hi all the time when I saw him, and when he worked for an insurance company, he tried to sell me insurance.
When was that?
Oh boy.
We
last 3 years.
Okay. This is 2015. We allege the murder date is January 25th of 2014.
Yeah.
Would it have been?
It would have been prior to that.
Well, obviously.
Yeah, I mean.
It would have to be.
2013.
All right. Did you ever, I guess, go into Ramsey's condo,
No.
socialize in that way? Did Ramsey ever socialize by coming into your condo?
No.
Would you often see Ramsey working on his condo?
Yes.
How often would that normally be?
Oh, I don't know. I know he just told me he was working on it, and I saw him carrying stuff in and out occasionally.
Did you ever meet his mother, Donna?
Yes, I did.
And do you see her in court today?
Yes, I do.
Would you indicate where she is seated and an item of clothing that she's wearing?
She has on a black sweater and a bluish green top.
I would ask the record to reflect the identification then of the defendant, Donna Scrivo. Good show. Did you ever, I guess, socialize with Donna Scrivo?
No.
Did you ever have any conversations with Donna Scrivo?
No.
In a regular week, I guess, how many times might you see Ramsey?
I would probably say 3 or 4 times.
Between Ramsey and Donna, how many vehicles did they have at the complex?
I believe 4.
Could you list off what those vehicles were to the best of your ability?
Ramsey had a black truck. I've seen Donna in a gray Chevy Blazer. There was a black SUV and some gray Ford small car, compact car.
How many vehicles are you allowed to have in the complex?
To park in the back, 1.
Is there parking available then on Gary Lane in front
Yes,
and on Allen Road?
yes,
Would your address then be considered the Gary Lane address?
correct.
Would you see those multiple vehicles parked in different locations throughout the week?
Yes.
Did there, I guess prior to January 25th, when might have been the last time that you saw Ramsey?
I would say it was probably 2 weeks prior. I was leaving and he was coming home with a coffee cup in his hand.
Was that unusual?
I have no idea. That was the first time I saw him do that.
When looking back into this complex from your unit, what, I guess, bear me out here. Do you have windows from the front of your unit to look out onto Gary Lane?
Correct.
Do you have windows and rooms from the back of your unit that look out into the parking lot?
Correct.
I see that we have parking here and parking here parallel. Is there parking directly behind horizontal to your
No.
building also? No parking right horizontal?
No, just
Okay.
on the 2 sides that you pointed out.
What's the room that's on the back of your condo that looks out over the parking lot?
Dining room and kitchen window.
I guess in any of the conversations that you had with Ramsey in that period of fall, did he ever talk to you about his family or what he was feeling?
No.
Did you have ever in those conversations with Donna?
No.
Did there come a point in time when there were a number of, I guess, police officers in the complex?
Yes.
And that was January 31st of
Correct.
2014. Did you speak to any officers at that time?
I was coming home from work that night, later at night, maybe 9:30, 10, and there was an officer parked blocking my walkway into the condo. And I asked him what was going on, and he said nothing. Everything's fine.
Did at some point an officer then come, I guess, knocking on the door?
On the front door,
Front
correct.
door? All right. And when was that?
That was the 31st.
Did you speak to that officer at that
Yes,
time?
I did.
Did you indicate to the officer at that time anything unusual that you had seen recently?
Yes.
And what was it that you told the officer?
The morning of January 30th, I saw Donna carrying garbage bags to, I believe, a black SUV,
Now, where were you when you saw that?
sitting at the dining room table facing out.
So where I was previously, you were sitting at this, I guess what I would call a back unit?
Yes.
The back end of your unit, looking out into this parking lot?
Correct.
how close was the car that she was carrying the bags to parked to your unit?
There was, the very first parking spot was occupied by someone else, and I believe hers was the second parking space.
Now, you described that there was a pickup truck, and she was not taking the bags to that.
No.
You indicated that Ramsey had a regular type of car. She was not taking the bags to that.
No, I believe.
Now, you described two sort of different SUVs, and the
Correct.
colors you said were silver and a darker color.
Yes.
Which one do you recall her taking the bags to?
I believe it was the black one, but she walked around the front of the van to the passenger side, so the gray one might have been parked next to it. I don't know that.
Could you see it from where you were seated?
The gray one?
Yes.
I just saw the black one.
Black one. When she brought the bags out, how many trips did she make?
I believe it was only one.
And she was carrying 3 bags?
Yes.
And this was then on
The
what
morning
was
of the 30th.
Wednesday the 30th? About what time?
I believe it was between 8:45 and 9:15.
In the
Because
morning?
I had to work that morning, yes.
Okay. Where were you working at the time?
Macy's at Eastland.
Did you go out and, I guess, offer to help or anything
No.
like that? Did she seem to be struggling with the bags at all?
No.
Did you also then tell the officers that you saw something else, some other activity between Donna and one of the vehicles in that same week?
Yes. On
And-
the 31st, I was writing a grocery list at the dining room table, and it was between 10:30 and 11. She was cleaning out a gray SUV, which I believe was a Chevy Blazer, and I saw her take the license plate off.
When you left for work, was the Blazer in the parking lot?
Yes, I left at 2:30 and the Blazer was in the parking lot.
When you returned from work, was the Blazer in the parking lot?
No, it was not.
Any time prior in the time that, do you know approximately when, I guess, Donna moved into Ramsey's, or in Ramsey?
I would say it was in the summertime, maybe June.
Did you ever see her clean any of the vehicles prior to that date?
When she moved in, one of the vehicles had a lot of stuff that she carried in.
And that was it?
Yes.
At any time during the week, Wednesday is when you saw her carrying the bags, that Tuesday, that Monday, did you hear any unusual sounds?
No.
Did you smell any unusual smells?
No.
Did you see Donna come and go from Ramsey's condo unit?
Not that I recall.
Did you see anybody else come and go from that
No.
condo unit? Thank you, Mr. Trombley. I have no further questions.
Mr. Haddad?
Thank you, Jeff. Mr. Trombley, you're the wall-to-wall neighbor with Ramsay Simon and his Ramsay Scrivo and his
No,
mom?
there is a condo in between us.
Oh, okay, so you were not the wall-to-wall
No.
neighbor, like I thought I heard you say. So there's a unit in between your unit and Ramsay Scrivo and his mom's unit?
Yes.
And who lives in that unit?
There was a young man, but he was always out of town on business. I believe he worked in Texas part of the time.
Do you know that young man's name?
No, I do not.
Were you somewhat acquainted with him?
No.
Do you know if he was home on the 30th and the 31st?
No, he was out of town.
How do you know he was out of town?
Because when he came home, it was that weekend or within the few days, and he asked me what was going on. Somebody had talked to him about what went on.
So the man that lives in the unit between yours and the Scrivo unit was out of town during
Yes,
this
I
period of
believe so.
time. Do you know if that man lives alone?
He did. He does not live there any longer.
When he was living there, did he
He
live
lives
there
alone.
Okay.
Yes.
So no one else occupied
Correct.
his unit. Do any other people live in your unit?
No.
Do you have any relatives or regular guests that are about the same height and weight as Ramsay Scrivo?
No.
All right. You said that on the 31st you saw Mrs. Scrivo cleaning out the silver SUV.
Yes.
Okay. Do you mean she was out there with buckets and soap and hoses
No.
and she was cleaning it?
She was carrying things out of the SUV into the condo.
So when you told the police, and when you told us a few minutes ago that she was cleaning it out, you didn't literally mean she was cleaning it out as if to use cleaning materials.
Correct.
She wasn't washing it.
No.
Did she have any rags or spray cleaners
I
in her
don't
hand?
remember seeing it. No.
You only saw her carrying things
Carrying bags out
out
of the
and going where with them?
into the condo.
Okay. So there were no cleaning implements involved?
Not that I know
Okay. And do you know what she was carrying?
of. No, they were in paper bags. Yeah.
She was carrying paper bags.
Yeah.
You sure they were paper?
Yes, I believe so.
Were they the brown grocery store
Yes.
paper, or were they the nice Macy's kind of paper
I believe
bags?
they were brown paper bags.
Brown paper bags. So what I'm getting is there was really no cleaning involved, merely moving articles.
Yes.
And you don't know what the articles were. They
No, I
were in
didn't.
brown paper bags. Could she have been returning from grocery shopping?
No.
How do you know?
Because she was out there for at least a half hour.
Well, within that half hour, you indicate she removed the license plate,
Yes,
correct? And it doesn't take her a half hour to walk from the parking place to the back
Correct.
porch. Okay. What was she doing? What else was
She
she
was
doing?
putting stuff into a bag, and she carried, I believe, a couple of bags into the condo.
And you think that took about a half hour?
Yes.
All right. Thank you very much.
All right, Ms. Cataldo? No further questions. Ma'am, you're excused. You may
Okay.
step down.
Thank
Call
you.
your next witness, please.
Patricia Batanzo.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you want to stand and stretch, you're free to do so. Actually, you may do that anytime you want in between witnesses. Ma'am, step right up here, please. Raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yeah.
Please be seated, give your name to the reporter, and spell your last name.
Patricia Batanzos.
Try your best, ma'am, to keep your voice up.
Batanzos. Betanzos. Thank you.
Morning.
Morning.
Patricia, where do you live?
23212 Marta Road, St. Clair Shores.
Okay, you have really one of those smooth jazz voices. I need you
Oh,
to keep it
okay.
up just a little bit for me because she's recording it and we have to hear it back here. So, and unfortunately, the microphones amplify in this courtroom. Where is that located, I guess, in the city of St. Clair Shores?
It's on Marta Road, just off of Jefferson.
At this time, Your Honor, I'm going to move to the introduction of People's Exhibit Number 71. It's another aerial photograph. I believe there'll be no objection from Mr. Haddad.
That's so, Your Honor.
It will be received.
If you would go ahead, Craig, and put it up on the screen. Would you please step down for just a second for me, Patricia? Would you take the handout, take a good look at that? Would you indicate you'd indicated your address is 23212 Marta Road. Will you show us where it is on this map? Okay, keep your voice up.
Right there.
Now, when it says Marta Road, what I'm learning is that your front windows then actually face Marta Road?
Yes.
And would you show us where the Kroger is?
It would be like right over here.
All right, and then the CVS is where?
Right here.
All right, in front of the Kroger?
Yeah. Well, there's a couple stores in between, but then it's Rite Aid.
All right, Rite Aid. Now, do you know a gentleman by the name of Ramsay Scrivo?
Yes.
Where did Ramsay live?
Right here.
All right, so in the corner here off Gary Lane.
Yeah, right here.
All right. When you are at the back end of your unit, what room is that?
It's my dining room and my kitchen.
Do you have an exit out of there into this parking area?
Yes.
And there's a window, I assume?
Yes.
And that window allows you then an unobstructed vision to this end of the parking lot?
Yes.
All right, thank you. When did you move into your unit?
About 20 years ago.
When, if you can recall, did Ramsay Scrivo move into his unit?
I'm not sure when he moved in. I think I met him around 2011, 2012. I think he'd already been there.
How did you come across, I guess, meeting him, and how often in that ensuing time, 2011, 2012, 2013, would you have interaction with Ramsay?
Well, not too much in the beginning, but as time went on, when I got to know him, it was almost on a daily basis.
Were you home most of the day?
Yes.
Was Ramsay working at any time during the initial time that you met him?
The initial time I met him, I don't know. I didn't know him that well in the very beginning. We met under kind of an unusual circumstance. He would drive by and I would wave to him. But one night he knocked on my door and he had a dog and he thought it was mine. And that's the first time that I really had talked to him.
When would that have been?
I think that was in 2010 or 2011. Beginning of 2011, I think.
Did you have a dog back then?
Yes.
The dog that Ramsay brought was not your dog?
Right.
Did you have any interaction with him, I guess, this pertaining to animals after that?
Yes, when he got a dog.
Okay. And how long after he brought the dog to your condo did he get a dog?
I think it was that summer, so it was like 6 months later, about 6 months later.
Did you have any conversations with him prior to him getting the dog?
Yes, one time he saw me out walking and he stopped me, told me he was getting a dog, and asked me if I would help him with it.
Were you willing to help him?
I said yes.
Did you know he was working at the time?
At that time I did not know whether or not if he was working.
Did he get a dog?
Yes.
Would you explain to the jury, I guess, then, how you helped care for the dog, Ramsay?
Well, in the beginning I would just take it for a walk, and then eventually it became where he would leave. I think he started working then, or that I was aware of him working, and I would go over to take the dog out or to feed it and make sure it had water.
Did you do that fairly frequently?
Yes.
Did there come a point in time where you felt the dog was probably spending too much time inside?
Yes.
Did you and Ramsay have conversations about that?
Yes.
What ended up happening?
Eventually, the dog would come over to my house and stay at my house.
When you say the dog would stay at your house, you would care for it during the day or
yes.
for extended periods of time?
Well, it started out that I would take care of him for the day, and then eventually it would end up that he would stay anywhere from a week to 3 weeks.
When you would have the dog for this week to 3 weeks, would Ramsay stop by?
But yes, once in a while, but more often than not, he would stick his head out the door and if I was out there or if my daughter was out there and yell, how's Reznov?
So the name dog named dog was what?
Reznov.
Reznov. How stable did Ramsey seem to you during this time? I mean, I find it unusual that he asked the neighbor to take care of the dog, and then you end up with it for anywhere from 1 to 3 weeks.
Well, in the beginning he was okay, but then he eventually, I don't know how to put it. He was a little irresponsible.
Did you know him to start working for his father at some point?
Yes.
And when was that?
I think that was shortly after he had the dog. I think that's what he was doing when I would take the dog.
What
That
type
he was
of work
working.
was he doing with his father?
Painting and I think light interior construction work.
When would he leave in the morning?
They would leave fairly early, I think around 8, maybe a little, yeah, around 8.
Who would pick him up?
I'm sorry?
Who would pick him up?
His dad.
Would his dad then drop him back off?
Yes.
Did there come a point in time, I guess, where you became the owner of the dog?
Yes.
And when was that?
That was in July of 2014. July of 2014.
Okay. Before his death or after his death?
Before.
Okay. We are alleging the murder date is January
I'm sorry, you're right.
25th,
Right.
2014, so it would have been the summer of 2013.
Yes, sorry,
July.
yes.
Did you know his mother, Donna Scrivo?
Not very well.
Did you ever meet her?
Yes.
Is she in court today?
Yes, she is.
Would you point out where she is seated and an article of clothing that she's wearing?
She's to the left of me, in front of me, and she has on a black blazer.
I would ask the record to reflect the identification then of Donna Scrivo.
Yeah.
Approximately when did Donna move in with Ramsey?
I think it, I think it was June or July of 2013. I think June of 2013.
Did you know Ramsey's father?
Yes, but not real close or real well.
How often, I guess, would you talk with him?
Maybe a couple times a week. If I was over there getting the dog, when he was coming to get Ramsey, or if I was over there getting the dog, if he stopped by, or if he was bringing Ramsey home, and if I was bringing the dog back, I would talk to him then.
So you had some conversations then?
Yes.
How was it then that you became full owner of the dog?
She'd been at my house, and he just came over and said, you know, she's with her pals, and you take better care of her than I do, or that I would, and I think that she should just stay here. I said, okay, it's fine.
Would Ramsey come over and visit?
Yes.
How often would that be?
Maybe once or twice a week. He'd either stop by or take her for a little walk.
When Ramsey would come and visit, would he go into the house to visit the dog?
Yes.
Were you ever in Ramsey's condo?
Yes.
How often were you in Ramsey's condo?
Sometimes every day for a couple weeks.
And that would be because of the care for the dog?
Yes.
And did you have a key to Ramsey's condo?
Yes, at one time I did.
Did there come a point in time where you no longer had a key to Ramsey's condo?
Yes.
When was that?
Let's see. Probably, if he gave me the dog in the summer, this probably would have been that winter, I think. Probably that winter. Yeah, probably the winter of 2013. So probably somewhere in November, December. I'm not.
Prior to his death?
Yes.
When Donna moved in, well, let me finish my thought. Did Ramsey have a key to your place?
No,
Who were you living there with?
my daughter.
Would he ask permission to go in?
Yes.
Did he ever have your consent to just simply go in when he wanted to see the dog?
No.
Would he be in your place when you weren't home?
No.
Did you have, I guess, any relationship with Donna?
No, not really, other than I knew that she was the mom of Ramsey and occasionally see her, but no, not really.
In any time, I guess, leading up to January 25th of 2014, had you ever had any real conversations with Donna about family or friends or life in general?
Well, I I stopped at the church after the, I think it was a memorial for her husband, late husband.
Okay, so her husband's name was Dan?
Yes.
Do you know when her husband died?
I think it was in May of 2013.
You attended a church service there?
Well, no, I stopped in to say something to her and to Ramsey.
At the time she was living, we've established, on a street called Rosedale in St. Louis, had you ever gone over to that house?
Yes.
And when was that?
That was, I think it was the day after, 2 days after Dan Scrivo passed away. Donna called me and asked me if I could pick up the dog.
Pick up Ramsey's dog?
Yes.
Okay. And did you do so?
Yes.
Taking you back now to January of, well, let's go back to some, it seems to me you're one of the first witnesses that has had some daily interaction with Ramsey and had conversations with Ramsey. Was there a change, I guess, in Ramsey between the time that he was working for his father and then after his father's death?
Yes.
Would you describe to the jury what you saw?
Jeez. He just really declined. He just getting in fights and
Keep your voice up.
he was getting in fights. He just
When you say he was getting in fights, are we talking about street fights?
yeah, bar fights. He was drinking more, drinking a lot more.
How do you know the difference between, I guess, what he was drinking after his father's death and before then?
He was getting in more fights, and he was telling me that he was just drinking more. I just saw the decline in his behavior. Just wasn't as rational.
So you did see some slipping, you did see
Yes.
some increased drinking. Were you ever, I guess, afraid of him?
No.
Was he ever mean or rude or inappropriate to you in your interaction with him?
He could be a little unreasonable and stubborn.
There must have been an incident which...
Well...
Could you tell us what it was?
Well, no. I mean, the way he would treat the dog, it would be like there was no windows open, he didn't have any air conditioning, and it was like 90 degrees, and I would want to take the dog, and he would like, no, you can't take her, and I'm like, it's too hot in here for her. So I brought over a fan for her to have, because she would be in the house all day. When he would get mad sometimes, he wouldn't let me take the dog, and he would leave her in the house like that, and that upset me, because anyway, so I brought over a fan for her so she'd have something, because she was also sometimes held in a cage. So that was one incident. Just small little things like that. And if geez, I don't know. He kind never mind. Just has to
Would
do
you
with
often see Ramsey working around his condo?
Yes.
Right. What type of projects would he do?
Trying to renovate the inside.
Did you see the results of the projects that he would be working on?
Yes.
Your facial expression tells me you weren't very impressed with the finished product, or?
No, it was an ongoing project that just never seemed to get done. And then he would start one and leave it and start another area without finishing that area, and just kind of scattered.
That was throughout the time that you knew him while he was living there?
Yes.
How many vehicles did Ramsey own?
I think he had 3.
Do you know what they were?
There was a white van, a blue truck, and he had a car, but he didn't get the car till later. He mainly used the trucks.
When Donna moved, did she have any vehicles?
I think she had an Escort, and then eventually an SUV, and there was another car.
So they had multiple vehicles?
Yes.
Different colors?
Yes.
Where would they normally park these vehicles?
They kind of rotated. At least 2 of them would be in the back, and then the majority of them would be out in front.
And I think we established you can park. This is one of the few pictures, I guess, that we actually have that's close enough. So you can see on Allen Road here, and I would assume it's the same on Gary. Parking is allowed then in front of the units also.
Yes.
And their cars would be parked in a variety of different places around the unit.
Yes.
How often would you see, well, let me ask this question. Did you know that Ramsey had gotten into trouble through one of the fights? He was placed on probation by
Yes.
the court?
Yes.
Did he tell you about that?
Yes.
Did you see, I guess, any change in his behavior as a result of then having been placed on probation by the court?
He was upset about it and thought it was a little unfair.
Did he ever talk to you about suicide?
No. No.
Did he ever talk to you about wanting to hurt himself or anybody in his family?
No.
How often, I guess, would you see him, or did you know him to go from his condo to the 7-Eleven?
He did that a couple times a week, several times a week.
Would he ever ask if you wanted something before he went?
I think he did one time ask me if I wanted something. He would also go to Rite Aid.
Which is right next to 7-Eleven, I think.
Right.
Mr. Tyner showed us that. I want to take you now to the time period of mid-January of 2014. Our allegation is that he was murdered on January 25th, which was a Saturday night. When was the last time you would have seen him prior to that night?
I think it was Wednesday. Did you say Saturday was the 25th?
Correct.
Okay, so that would have been the 24th, January 24th, Wednesday.
No.
No, am I
Saturday's
guessing?
25th, 24th, 23rd, 22nd.
22nd, okay. I did that wrong.
On Wednesday the 22nd, do you know approximately what time it was that you saw him?
I think that was in the morning.
Do you know where he was headed?
To Rite Aid.
Did you have any conversation with him?
Yes.
Would you describe to the jury what conversation you had with him?
It was regarding the dog. Because I think I saw him later in the afternoon leave, so I don't want to get that confused. Yes, I think he stopped I was outside with one of my other dogs, and he saw, I now call her Reslin, Reslin in the door, and he asked if he could see her, if he could go in and see her, and I said yes, so he went in and he spent some time with her.
Did he talk to you at all about what his future plans were now that his father had passed and he was no longer working for his family?
Yeah, he one time mentioned he'd like to go back to school.
Did you know that he'd had a college degree?
Yes.
Was he working in the field of his college degree?
No.
What other plans did he talk to you about wanting to do?
That was pretty much it. He just really wanted to get off of probation.
And would he talk about that, I guess, in December and January of that time? December of 2013, January of 2014. Would he talk to you about wanting to get off probation?
Yes.
After the 22nd, did you ever see Ramsey again?
No.
Did there come a time where you realized that something must have happened?
Yes.
Would you tell the jury how it was? How that came about?
Well, whenever I would take my dogs out, and particularly if I took Reslin out, he would always come to the door and ask about her, or if he didn't ask about her, he would ask me how I was doing, and he would also come outside to smoke on his porch in the back area there, and I would also see him coming and going, driving in and out, or walking by, and we'd wave to each other, and that just all stopped. He was a heavy smoker.
Counsel, approach the bench, please. All right, ladies and gentlemen, at this point we're going to break for lunch. Be back prior to 1:45. We'll be in Blue Sky Trumpet at 1:45. As always, don't talk about the case amongst yourselves or review or listen to any media reports.
All rise to the jury, please.
You may step down now. Trial is in recess.